Well, guys, it's two things. For one, you got to win your divisional matchups. So you got to beat Washington. You got to beat Philly. You got to beat the New York Giants. Anytime they come to Dallas, you have to own your home field, and then maybe you can steal some victories on the road. I think the second part, guys, is making sure you protect the football. When I look at Dak Prescott and the best seasons he's had is when he's limiting the interceptions. So, of course, it's staying healthy, all the things that you naturally have to do as a player in the NFL. But I think the big key for him in this year, don't get crazy with the interceptions. As long as you protect the ball, let your defense get you some wins too.
What do you think?
I think the best path is for Jerry Jones to petition the NFL to join a new division. That would be the best way, because I just there's a bunch of them where they could compete, and it's just not going to happen in the NFC East. I just feel like there's no way they can overcome the talent gap, coaching gap, the GMing gap with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think that the Commanders are in front of them. So no, I don't see much of a path here. They're going to be a very healthy, very strong third best in the division. Congratulations.
I think the key is actually the running game. If they can get enough out of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, which I'm not sure they can, but what does Brian Schottenheimer want to do? He wants to run the ball, play action, and I think that really plays well with Dak. So I'm bullish long-term on how they want to approach and eventually win. But I think short-term, I agree with Kevin. I just don't know if they have enough there.
EJ, they're getting a bunch of guys back healthy that finished the year on IR. But the biggest one is the quarterback, Dak Prescott. I mean, is anybody making a bigger impact addition this offseason than that?
Well, not really. I mean, look, you look at, you bring back Diggs back on the defensive side, and then you bring back some edge rushers as well for the Cowboys to go opposite of Micah Parsons. So I think, of course, you got to get Micah Parsons signed as well. But I think for Dak, man, staying healthy and protecting the football. And as a quarterback, those are the things that you can control. Now, of course, injuries happen, but I said this earlier in the show, when Dak is available and he plays 10-plus games, that Cowboys win 10-plus games. And look, I hear what Kevin's saying as far as the division getting better. Philly certainly much better. Washington's going to be better because of what we saw with Jayden Daniels. But we also didn't see a lot of Dak Prescott last year. So, again, if he could play 12, 13 games where he's available, maybe they have a chance to win the division.
Hey, EJ, just GMing me, is it okay for $60 million to ask them to play in all 17? Is that how,
Whoa!
That's how it's going to go. We're going to.
Whoa, Mike T, all I'm saying is, now we know injuries happen, right? Whether it's an ankle, I'm not saying he's going to be having load management, but I'm just talking about 100% injury rate in sports. So, yeah, of course, you want him out there on the football field, but look at the past 5-6 seasons, he's missed time. So if he can limit that, kind of going with the same rate of what he's had the past couple of years, then I think they stand a chance. But if they don't, then, Joe Milton, not so sure. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes with Dak. We want to turn the page now to Chapter 2 of EJ's manual this morning. EJ, what does Aaron Rodgers need to do to have a big year in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, well, the big thing is feeding DK Metcalf. So they go out and get DK Metcalf in free agency. And really, this was, in a trade. And I think this was interesting because you didn't have the quarterback yet. You had some, I think you had the guy that came over back from Tennessee. But now you signed Aaron Rodgers. So I think you got to give DK Metcalf at least 10 to 12 targets a game. And I know that's a lot of volume, man, but I think he has to be your bell cow. And I would say the same what I said with Dak Prescott for Aaron Rodgers. Protect the football. If you can run the football up there in that weather, you have a playoff-ready defense. Let those guys get you some turnovers, create some short fields. Don't press the issue, especially early in the season, because he didn't get a full offseason with this offense. So for A-Rod, feed DK Metcalf, also take care of the rock.
DK Metcalf has not been a high-volume wide receiver in his career. Are they in good shape there, or do they need more?
They're going to need a second guy to step up. But if he's going to have a big year, Arthur Smith's going to have to call his old colleague Matt LaFleur and say, what did you do in Green Bay to merge your offensive philosophy with Aaron Rodgers? That's the key. Aaron Rodgers has to fight his own worst instincts and say, hey, let me do everything on offense. Remember, this time last year he was running Nathaniel Hackett's offense, which is the Aaron Rodgers offense. We saw how poorly that went. So don't do that. In fact, Aaron Rodgers, do everything the opposite of what you were doing this time last year. That's my advice to you. But no, I think that there's a way to make the Arthur Smith offense with play action, turning him back to the defense, quick strikes over the middle, merge that with the Aaron Rodgers tendencies, get comfortable with motions and shifts, Aaron. There can be a middle ground here, and there can be some wins.
Yeah, I think a couple things are key here. First of all, their tackle play. Broderick Jones and Troy Fontenot have to be healthy and more productive because, again, we're closing in on 42 for Aaron Rodgers. But I actually do think, Kevin, from a scheme standpoint, really what they want to do is run the ball, play action, and boot. Caleb Johnson, a third-round pick out of Iowa, who I thought was really productive.
Runs hard.
Yeah. he's really a good fit for this offense. If they can get him going early, I think DK Metcalf, obviously, as you mentioned, more of a home run hitter than a volume guy, but the play action, the boot, the rollouts, it could all work provided the offensive line plays well, and Caleb Johnson, who I believe in, could get off to a great start.
EJ, you want to back in on this?
Yeah, I wanted to add, look, I think now that DK is with the Steelers, and you mentioned the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, DK wants to be a volume guy. Maybe the offense in Seattle didn't call for him to do that, so now you get this opportunity where you can really unleash this weapon. But the other part, and you guys mentioned the age, it's a great point. When you looked at Peyton Manning late in his career, when you look at Tom Brady late in their career, they weren't necessarily doing a whole bunch of spots. Granted, they threw the ball, don't get me wrong, but you still saw a great level of play action use. You saw a great level of allowing the defense to get you some short yardage fields. And even when Tom Brady won his last Super Bowl, that was because partly of the defense that played so well there at Tampa Bay. So I think there's other ways to still find ways to win games with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback.
All right, one last one in EJ's manual this morning. We go to Cleveland. How does Shedeur Sanders win the Browns' starting quarterback job?
Yeah, well, look, the big key first is owning that locker room. You have to walk in there not with the confidence in the sense of a bravado or arrogance, but you have to make sure these guys see you putting in the work. And everything I've read from the #1 pick in Cam Ward, he's showing up at 5:30 in the morning. So he's earning that respect. Shedeur, you have to do the same exact thing. Go in there, don't do a lot of talking. Just make sure your teammates see you working. And look, Cleveland needs something at quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be Kenny Pickett. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think for Shedeur Sanders, do all the right things on and off the field, and you have your opportunities in training camp to win the job.
Yes, very similar to EJ. Earn the trust and confidence of your teammates, and let's face it, getting pulled over twice late at night going 100 miles an hour isn't a good way to do that. Now, look, context is it's not the end of the road by any stretch. He has plenty of time to win back the confidence of his team and the leadership of the organization. But when you're the starting quarterback of a $6-7 billion enterprise, everything you do is magnified, good or bad. He has the most ability, in my opinion, in that room. He has a chance to earn that job, but it really has to stack one good day on top of the next. I think he's a much better prospect as a player than Dylan Gabriel.
First of all, I showed up at 5:30 this morning. There's no buzz about my leadership. I didn't hear anything.
Well, we got to see you do it again.
Okay, just every day. Just every day. Next week, I'll see you there. First in, last out. So, with anything involving the Cleveland Browns quarterback position and the line of succession, there's only one key: wait. Because everybody in front of you is going to eventually flop. We have a lot of data on this, okay? We have a couple of decades worth, all right, since they moved back to Cleveland. So if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I'm looking at Dylan Gabriel. You're already better than him from a football standpoint. You're going to be better than him on the practice field starting in Bray, Ohio in a couple weeks for training camp. Kenny Pickett, I think he can be beaten out at some point by halfway through that season, and then Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco, and they're going to want to move to a younger quarterback. So I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders just staying in the fight, waiting his turn, driving the speed limit, and by the back half of the season, there will be an opportunity for him. Just stay in the fight and compete. One
thing we know for sure, the only constant with the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation throughout the years has been changed. You have something you wanted to say?
I had a question. Did he get here at 5:30 by speeding? Just curious.
We're gonna dive into that on a Saturday show.
Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ gấp đôi cái vỏ giấy và mình sẽ dở nó ra. Các bạn lại gấp đôi và liên tiếp cho mình. Rồi gấp xong mình sẽ dở nó ra và mình sẽ gấp hai bên của nó vào phần giữa này. Rồi sau khi gấp xong mình sẽ dở nó ra. Các bạn sẽ gấp hai góc còn lại cho mình. Rồi sau đó mình sẽ dở nó ra và mình sẽ gập cái phần bên dưới này lên đây. Rồi sau đó mình sẽ gấp hai góc bên trên này chéo vào đây tạo thành một cái hình tam giác nhé. Rồi sau đó mình sẽ dở nó ra. Các bạn sẽ nhìn